In our top stories tonight, more food security, cannabis and pesticide regulations coming. BAMP seeking to dispel some myths associated with the deadly COVID-19. UE opens a science and technology festival. And in sports, India and Australia to battle for the Women's T20 World Cup.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom. Thanks for joining us. In our top story tonight, better food security, regulations on the use of cannabis, and a new way forward for pesticide use. Those were just some of the hot topics up for discussion last night at the St. Philip Independent Baptist Church, where Agriculture Minister Indar Weir held his latest town hall meeting. We get more from Shane Jones.
Minister Weir told the gathering at the church there are 800 million people in the world that are considered food insecure, which means you may be getting food, but not the right type. He says Barbadians are unknowingly contributing to that number.
When you hear the appeal go out for the removal of snacks around schools and the removal of soft drinks in schools, and that an appeal is going out for you to feed your children wholesome food and not to engage in giving them soft drinks that are loaded in calories, high in sugar content, then you start to understand that you are also practicing food insecurity.
The Agriculture Minister says that reality is a huge reason why Barbados needs to return to agriculture as a main economic driver and to promote a healthier lifestyle. On the hot topic of the use of marijuana, the minister says government will soon move to issue licenses where medicinal cannabis can be used to treat several diseases. However, he was sure to make some clarifications.
Medicinal cannabis is actually from seed to processing, where you extract the CBD oil to be used as a treatment. Just like how all of you in this room who will be taking any form of medication to treat any disease will be taking some form of OPI.
Minister Weir also turned his attention to pesticides. He believes Barbados needs to cut down on the use.
Someone has won a case in the US claiming that Roundup was responsible for giving them skin cancer. Now, we cannot allow Barbadians to be exposed this way. St. Vincent and the Grenadines have already moved ahead and banned the use of most pesticides and herbicides. What we are going to do is go to a control system where you, as a farmer, can still use them, but when you go into the supermarket, when you go into the hardware, you have to have a certificate to show that you are allowed to purchase.
Other topics discussed include an intended halt in the exportation of bulk sugar and the replanting of couscous grass. Shane Jones, CBC News.
Thanks, Shane. Well, the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners, or BAMP, has been outlining some of the facts and seeking to dispel some myths associated with the deadly COVID-19. This as the organization hosted a public forum at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center last night.
During the forum, BAMP President Dr. Abdon De Silva identified some of those who are more likely to contract COVID-19. He pointed out that 80% of those who contracted will only have a mild form and most of them will recover.
Individuals at the highest risk for severe disease and death include those over 60 years old, looking around, those with underlying conditions, and from China, the figures in order of progression is if you have some sort of cardiovascular disease, you are high risk, followed by diabetes, hypertension, chronic respiratory disease, and cancer.
Dr. De Silva says a major problem is the condition can be spread by people without symptoms. But those who do have symptoms will complain of fever, dry cough, shortness of breath, as well as the usual aches and pains and nausea and diarrhea in the more serious cases. And masks are more effective for people who already have COVID-19 and those who are caring for them.
The truth is really that patients with mild symptoms can be cared for at home if they have somebody who's going to look after them, if they preferably have a separate bedroom to recover in, and access to things like masks.
The BAMP president wants business people to start encouraging sick employees to stay at home until they're free of fever and other symptoms for at least 24 hours. He says they should also develop a policy for workers who may have family members in quarantine.
So employees who appear to have an acute respiratory illness upon arrival to work or become sick during the day should be separated from other employees and be sent home. And sick employees should cover their mouths and nose just like they would do at home. You'll be encouraged to put posters all over your office advising people to stay home when they're sick, advise them of cough and sneeze etiquette and hygiene.
Dr. De Silva says now is not the time to panic. Rather, Barbadians should start to prepare for any eventuality.
Two of the island's top diplomats, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Dr. Jerome Walcott, and Ambassador and Permanent Representative to the United Nations in Geneva, Chad Blackman, have been elevated within the Latin American and Caribbean group of countries and the World Trade Organization, respectively. And joining us now to speak about those achievements and what exactly they mean for Barbados is Ambassador Plenipotentiary Dame Billy Miller. Dame Billy, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
You're very welcome.
Now, we've talked about who has been elevated and the general area within which they've been elevated, but can you tell me specifically where Dr. Walcott and Ambassador Blackman have been elevated to?
Dr. Walcott was elected by the entire membership of the World Trade Organization at last Tuesday's General Council meeting to be the Vice President of GRULAC. That is the group of the Latin American and Caribbean countries. And this is for the upcoming World Trade Organization Ministerial, which is going to be held this year in Kazakhstan, in Russia, in June. The ministerial serves as the highest decision body outside of the General Council, meaning the Council of Ambassadors, and sets the work program for the organization for the period between the upcoming ministerial and the next. The process is very competitive. Everybody wants their minister to be at the forefront on driving the access. So, as Vice President of the GRULAC at this time, Dr. Walcott is generously poised.
And Ambassador Blackman.
Yes, Ambassador Blackman, interesting story. Within 6 months of his arriving in Geneva in 2018, the Caribbean grouping of ambassadors invited him to lead them. And then he was offered the portfolio of Chair of Trade and Development in the WTO itself, the World Trade Organization, between 2019 and 2020. He's bright, he's got on the horse right away. Yeah. Geneva is not an easy mission. It's not only trade matters. You've got World Health Organization, ILO, WIPO, you know, and he had to hit the ground running and did in fact do so. But he too has been elected as chair of the Trade and Environment Committee of the World Trade Organization at the General Council as well. This committee deals with all issues relevant to trade and the environment, and I'm very pleased to see climate change, vulnerability, plastics pollution, and making trade more environmentally friendly.
Yes. So, and those are areas that we in Barbados and certainly the rest of the Caribbean have been pushing significantly, because we know of the challenges we face as it relates to climate change.
Absolutely.
Now, with these two elevations, do they allow us to set the agenda going forward for these bodies, or what exactly?
Not the entire agenda. As Vice President of the GRULAC, within the ministerial that's upcoming, simply by being the vice chair. He will have immediately the air of the chair, and from time to time the chair will move away to go to some other meeting, and then he will take the chair. So that's a powerful place to be.
Certainly.
I've had that experience myself in Hong Kong many years ago, and it's powerful. Mm-hmm. And so that will, I think, leverage the Latin American and the Caribbean group in the GRULAC. I am sure is ready in itself. I hope that this virus is not going to be disruptive of these meetings. They are very key to us.
Yes.
Now, there is also the fact that Barbados is hosting in October of this year the 15th UNCTAD meeting. Prime Minister Motley will assume the chair, and so again that is another place where Barbados will have the front line. Mm-hmm. And will be able to put its case with a certain, what shall I say, insistence,
yeah,
if it can. But given these two appointments in the WTO, I'm really very proud and very pleased
Certainly.
that Minister Walcott and Ambassador Blackman are there to do our bidding, mm-hmm, and to take us forward as far as they can, because the world's attention, and particularly now with this virus, mm-hmm, the world's attention is already on issues of trade and development.
Certainly.
That is the developed world. But the developing world now has to take advantage of every possible opening. And this meeting, I hope, will do that for us.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Dame Billy.
Thank you.
Certainly for spending time with us and sharing with us the importance of these two appointments.
Yes, I'm very excited about it.
Thank you very much, Dame Billy.
Thank you.
Oh, prominent Barbadian attorney Gittins Clyde Turny QC has died. Government has described his death as a tremendous loss to Barbados and to the legal profession. In the 1970s, his law firm, R.G. Mandeville and Company, led firms in Barbados. He was an extensive corporate, commercial and property practice representing some of the leading entities in the region, and he represented the wealthiest international individuals, including sports and film personalities and international entrepreneurs. The Prime Minister and the Cabinet of Barbados have offered condolences to his family as well as his friends. The University of the West Indies is buzzing with all sorts of exciting exhibits as Barbadians have been flocking to the Cayfield campus for the second annual Science and Technology Festival. It's been put on by the Faculty of Science and Technology as well as the National Council for Science and Technology. Shane Jones reports on the launch.
Over the next 3 days, Barbadians of all ages will be celebrating and embracing science and all that it offers. During the launch, students from several primary and secondary schools were able to view many of the exhibits on display and gain knowledge on the contribution of science and technology to their everyday lives. The festival promises an array of hands-on activities.
How about listening to the perspective of the youth in our speak-off and sound-off competitions, or immersing yourself in a video game created here in Barbados? Yes, we actually do that right here in Barbados. What about cutting-edge research by our scientists and researchers? Just look at the posters on display and see how businesses in Barbados are utilizing science and technology to their advantage, not only to make money, but to protect you and I.
During his remarks, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology, Charlie Brown, reveals government has signed a $40 million loan contract with the Inter-American Development Bank to improve the efficiency of payment systems for Barbadians through technology.
This will see the implementation of an e-services platform, an online services, as well as electronic document records management system and a human resource information management system. Prior to the signing of the loan agreement with the Inter-American Development Bank, the ministry was working with the bank on this initiative, and in the next few weeks, contracts will be awarded for the implementation of the e-services platform and electronic document and records management system.
Dean in the Faculty of Social Sciences, Dr. Colin Depperdine, says the festival is more than just providing an opportunity to the public to experience the various exciting aspects of science and technology.
It really is a vital step towards creating what the island really needs, a STEM ecosystem, or in other words, embedding STEM into the island's economic growth and overall development.
The festival ends on March 7th. Shane Jones, CBC News.
Shane, thanks. Well, the management of NSR Limited and Sky Mall have been commended for their support of the island's young people. The mall's Christmas promotion was themed Support Our Youth and Shape Our Future. The mall partnered with 11 primary schools. Each had the opportunity to be chosen by shoppers to receive donations for selected projects. Sharon Howell was the first prize winner, and her school of choice will receive $6,000 compliments of Williams Industries. Margaret Weeks won the second prize, and her school of choice will receive $4,000, also compliments of Williams Industries. Petra Emanuel took third spot, and her school will receive $2,020 compliments Guyana Toy Shop. The schools chosen by the winners of 4th to 11th place will each receive $1,000 compliments Burger King and Bryden's Retail. Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Senator Dr. Romel Springer, praised the initiative, which he called a major investment in children.
What happens in our schools eventually impacts what happens in our communities. And I know that some of our schools, even as they are, even with all the effort that we would have put in as a ministry, they are not as conducive to learning as they can be. And what this initiative does, it puts the power in the hands of the principals, of the teachers, and in some cases the students, to chart the path to create that vision that they have for their school.
Well, still to come, a result, it appears, in Guyana's election. But before we get to that, here's a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Treat people with disabilities with the same respect as you would anyone else. Don't assume what they can or can't do. This tip is brought to you in association with the Barbados Council for the Disabled, helping to sensitize and inform the public.
The Guyana Elections Commission has released results indicating an APNU-AFC victory in the 2020 elections. However, this revelation breaches 3 High Court injunctions filed by the opposition PPPC earlier today. The injunctions restrains GCOM from declaring unverified results and compels the returning officer Claremont Mingo to comply with the legal verification process. Now, that verification process, which began on Tuesday, stalled at least 4 times in the past 72 hours, leading to several concerns raised by political parties contesting the election.
APNU-AFC representative Minister Basil Williams said the APNU-AFC coalition did not object to the process being done by statements.
Nobody sent the spreadsheet was something that was inherited from their time. They used to verify with spreadsheets. Now they don't want spreadsheets, they want to use statement of polls. We have no objection, just let's get it over with.
But are you saying that the spreadsheet is authentic and it's commensurate with what's in the statement?
It's GCOM's document. GCOM under the law could regulate its own procedure. So GCOM could decide who wants to use spreadsheet. But GCOM has agreed to use the statement.
PPP General Secretary Barra Jagdeo said he is satisfied with the decision coming out of the commission.
And they agreed to go back to the process they were using, where they go using all the statements of poll. And that they will put up a screen now to see that the information from the statement of poll is properly reflected or inputted, and then when they finish sub-districts like Georgetown, they will print it out, give all with a total, and give it to all the political parties for reconciliation, so they would know if there is any difference in the parties' numbers.
And political analyst Peter Wickham has described the developments since Monday's elections as an unprecedented mess, and one which reflects dimly on one of the Caribbean's older democracies.
We understand that there was a threat that was allegedly made by the Minister of Foreign Affairs regarding the withholding of observer status or credentials. That has also been on the internet. And the more recent thing, which I'm particularly concerned about, is a call that has gone out to APNU AFC supporters from their leadership suggesting that they should meet at the Region 4 office and assemble peacefully. Now, the question as to the logic of that in the context of this politically charged environment, I think is highly unwise. I really don't know what the leadership is up to, but at this stage we have to wait and see.
Well, sports news is up next.